I have this boxed watercolour set, and although it's a reasonably nice set and it's not too hard to carry around, the box itself is just not really that useful. At the moment it is just literally a container for what's inside. So what I want to do in order to make it a bit more useful is to turn the box into a portable easel. And this is just a simple sketch of my plan. So the base will be a normal photographic tripod, and that will screw into the bottom of my box, and the box itself will be held open, and the top half of the box will hold my pad of paper, and the bottom half will have my paints and palette. And there are pretty much just two things I have to do, or problems to solve. So the first problem is, how is the box going to be held open at the right angle? And the way I'm going to solve that is just by replacing the hinges that are currently on the box with some adjustable torque hinges. And with this type of hinge you just use a spanner to tighten the nut on the back to adjust the amount of force you need to open it up. So hopefully once they're installed, the box will just kind of stay open at the point I want. And the second issue is how I'm going to connect a normal tripod to the box. And what I'm going to use is one of these pronged T-nuts. And the way I install it is just by making a recessed hole on the inside of the box. I then use a clamp to press the T-nuts into the hole, and then from the outside of the box I should just be able to screw in the tripod. And if all that's not clear now, it should be clear in a minute. Okay, so starting with replacing the hinges, I'll just tape the two halves of the box together first, so that they keep in the right position while I'm removing everything. And then there's just 6 screws to undo on each hinge, so quite simple. And I do just have to shorten the screws I have slightly. They are just a bit too long for the walls of the box. And I'm just using a pair of pliers here and it seems to work fine. And one last thing before I can actually screw the hinges onto the box. You can see that the holes in the hinge aren't countersunk, so the screw heads just stand out a bit. So I'll just quickly countersink the holes in the hinges slightly. And I think this tool is actually meant for wood, but it does just about work on these hinges. And with that hole done, you can see that now the screw head is flush with the hinge. Okay, so placing the first hinge in the position I want it, I'm just marking the hole positions with an awl. And I can now just start carefully drilling the holes to the desired depth. And with that done, I can just screw the hinges straight in. Now with the walls of the box being so thin and having to trim the screws, I am slightly worried that the hinges won't be very sturdy, but I think they should be fine. But I'll just have to wait and see. So that's both hinges installed, so now it's just the tripod interface that we need to do. So if you remember, I said before I'm installing a pronged T-nut, and I'll be doing it in the top half of the box, just because that's where the thickest, widest piece of wood is. So after finding the midpoint with a ruler and marking the spot with an awl, I can carefully start to drill my recessed hole using a spade bit. And I am going quite slow with the drill just because it is quite important that the hole ends up the right depth. And by the way, if you're doing this yourself, you just need to get a T-nut with 1/4 inch threads. That's just the standard tripod thread size. And with that done, I just need one smaller hole that goes all the way through for the tripod screw to come through. I then just place the T-nut into the hole and use a clamp to press it into the wood. And you can see that I've just removed the bottom half of the box just so I can get the clamp into the right position. And you can see there what it looks like, so the prongs have been pressed into the wood. And with the box back together now, you can see where the hole is. And I can now just turn the box over, and on the other side of the hole I can screw in the quick release plate for my tripod. So that's all the mechanical stuff done. The box is now basically ready to be mounted to a tripod. There are still 1 or 2 modifications I want to make though. So unfortunately the Henel material is just made from some kind of faux leather which has just deteriorated horribly, and if I try to carry the case with it, pieces will just start flaking off in my hand. And so I do have a plan to replace it. First I'm going to remove the Henel from the box and then start cutting away the old material. Then I just loop a 20cm length of rope around the rectangular rings, gluing the ends together. Now with one of the rings taped down, I've got 2 pieces of string there on either side of my loop of rope. And I'm just going to start plaiting or braiding the string around the loop of rope. And I won't go into detail about exactly how I did this. There are tutorials on YouTube. Now this did take a while, but eventually I did finish it. And I think it came out looking pretty good. So I'm just going to now melt the ends of the string with a soldering iron and glue it down just to stop things from coming apart, and then screwing everything back onto the case, and everything seems to have worked out very well. The handle's pretty comfortable to hold, and I think it looks not too bad. And one last thing before I can test everything out, I think the hole looks slightly messy, so what I'm just going to do is cut a piece of card and paint it roughly the same colour as the box, not bothering to be too precise. And then gluing it down, I think that makes it look slightly neater. So I have this old bag that fits the box very well, as well as these two old pill bottles that I'm using for water pots. So it's quite simple to set up. So after I carry the tripod and box to some location, I set up the tripod, clip the quick release plate into the head, open the box up, and that's pretty much it. If you're interested in knowing the cost, the hinges and T-nuts only cost around £15 on eBay. So if you do have a box like this, I definitely recommend converting it. It definitely makes it a lot more useful. Now there is one small thing I still need to add. So at the moment I don't really have any good way of holding the pad of paper flat, but I think I just need some clips or something and I should be fine. Okay, that's about it. Thanks for watching. I'll be uploading some vids of me using this palette in the near future, so see you soon.